So today we'll be tying the squirrel tail leech. This is what the finished pattern will look like. Today we're going to start with a Mustad 9672 size 10 hook for the fly. Thread we'll be using today is a Ultra Thread 140 in rusty brown. And we're going to start off by going about one eye hook, maybe two behind the eye, starting a good thread base, wrapping it back to about right over the point of the hook, and cutting off your tag end. So our next step is to put a piece of lead wire on for weight. Oops. Put as much on as you want. I like a good amount of weight on this fly. Push it back, tighten it up so you get a good nice tight wrap on there. Keep pushing it back. Keep it a nice tight wrap on it. All this little piece of wire, as much of it as I can. Press it down nice and tight, and then I like to build up a good thread dam behind to keep that from sliding around too much. And then we're going to do a crisscross back and forth a few times over the lead. Your first trip back to the front, build up another little mound of thread in front of the lead to keep it in place, and then go back. And I would do this 3, maybe 4 times, but 3 should be good. And back down to the back. So our next step is to tie in the pine squirrel strip. You want to get a good separation of hair for your tie-in point. Lay it right before the curve of the hook. You want one wrap that's nice and tight. Keep that pressure on there and pull the strip back, 2 tight wraps in front, and then 2 more tight wraps at your tie-in point. And then just pull your squirrel strip back. So our next step in the fly is to tie in a piece of copper wire. We want to tie this in to give ourselves enough room that when we wrap our dubbing that we're going to get at least one wrap behind this piece of copper wire. So you just want to make sure you're giving yourself room to make that wrap behind the copper wire. So you want to make sure there's a gap there. You can see we should be able to get one good wrap behind that. Bring your thread back to the middle of the shank. So the next thing we're going to do is put in our dubbing loop. We're going to You want to make a pretty good size loop. You can always have too much, but you don't want to end up with too little. So you want to make a pretty good size loop. Get that loop in there. And once you have your dubbing loop in, you just want to wrap your thread forward to where your tie-off point's going to be, which is about 2 hook eyes behind the eye. Leave it there. Next step you're going to want to do is take a little dubbing wax, put it on your thread, and then take your dubbing, your blood leech dubbing that we're using, and put it in between your thread. You want to tease it out a little bit, get a good amount in there. And then we're going to take our dubbing tool, and get a good twist in there. If you don't get it twisted real good, do it again till you get a nice tight wrap on there. You can smooth it out. Maybe do it one more time. There we go. Then I like to take a pair of hackle pliers, clamp it on, and then cut your dubbing tool off. Keeping a nice tight grip on that. And you want to start your wraps. Pulling back. Making your one wrap behind your copper wire, and then start going forward, pulling back on the dubbing as you wrap forward. Till you get to your tie-out point. Got a couple of good wraps. Take your hackle pliers off, cut off your excess. So the next step, we're going to wrap our copper wire forward. You want to do it opposite of the way you wrapped your dubbing. Get up there, tie that off. 2 or 3 good wraps. And then you want to just cut that off. So the next step, we're going to pull our squirrel strip forward. You want to also get a good separation of hair at your tie-in point. Make sure you're tying in right to the leather, not tying down the hair. You want to give that a good tight pull. And as you can see, I didn't do a very good job of separating the hair. Keep a nice tight pull on that. Nice and tight, you can let that go. One more wrap. You want to do 2 full wraps in front, and then 2 more wraps at your tie-in point, and then you want to cut off your excess strip. So the next step in tying our fly, we're going to put in our hen hackle, red hen hackle feather. You want to get a good preparation on the hackle so you get good tie-in. Couple of wraps is really all you need. I don't like to cut it right to the thread, leave a little bit of a tag there. And just kind of give a good base there, and then you're going to want to get 2, 3 good wraps if you can. Pull your hackle back as you're wrapping. Try to keep as much of that going back as you can. And you want to tie your hackle off. Oops. Sorry for that to happen now. You don't want that to happen after you tie it off and cut it off. So you want to get a good couple of wraps on your hackle. Make sure it's tied off. Cut them tag into the feather off. Pull your hackle back over the fly, and then you're going to wrap back towards the back. Nice tight wraps, and then build a small head, cone-shaped head. And do a whip finish. Pull it back again and do a second whip finish. your thread off. Shape it a little bit. Make sure everything's the way you want it to be. Finish it off with a little head cement. And there's your finished fly. This fly works real well at Antiro, and I've had good luck fishing pike at Tarryall with this.